Today I will draw and color Shrek. I am beginning on regular drawing paper with just a pencil, and I'm trying to just kind of sketch very lightly an arc type shape on the top. I want it to get a little bit wider on the bottom to form the basic head shape. So I'm curving it just slightly on the top, making it a little bit bigger on the bottom. And I will go back over this with marker, so if you can't see it super well now, just hang tight, it will get bigger or brighter. Towards the top of the shape that I've sketched, I'm just kind of putting in some circles and ovals for where the eyes, nose, and mouth will be. It actually looks kind of like Olaf right now, but I promise it will turn into Shrek. I'm going to add some ovals on the outside too, and just kind of sketch in real lightly about where I want things to fall. So it's very light. I can move things around if need to. I can erase things if need to, but I just want to get kind of a basic idea of where I want the face features to go. And then once I got them kind of in place, I'm going to go back over and push a little bit harder to kind of define those areas a little bit more so that I have a more solid shape going on for where the features are on the face. This is going to be the side of his face, the chin. Notice he has a very large chin compared to like where the mouth falls on his face. The nose is very wide, so I'm going to try to kind of indicate that, but has a very narrow arch. Comes out very wide on the sides here. His eyes are pretty small, but the area that the sockets are pretty large. So I'm just going to draw kind of the basic eye shape right here on each side of the nose, and have his eyeballs they're kind of more towards the top of his eye openings. I'll add eyelids here. And again, I will trace all of this with marker so you can kind of see it more solidly. I'll throw the eyebrows in there. I've got the ovals here, hanging off both sides, paying attention to kind of get the angles right as they're coming off. And then for the mouth, just kind of drawing a nice big grin like that. I do have an indication of his cheeks right here. They kind of connect to the nose. And then I'm going to indicate a little bit of the top part of his body as well. So he's got kind of a neckline here that comes down a little lower in the center. I'll move it up a little bit so you can see, and then I'm going to add kind of the little vest action that he's got going on down here too, a little brown vest that he wears. Put it all the way up to where his shoulders are. Again, it's just kind of a rough sketch. I can always redefine it when I go back in with my marker. And getting kind of the basic sketch in there. And I think I'm about ready to switch over to my Sharpie so that you can see my lines a little bit better. So I'm just using a Sharpie just to define my lines a little bit more. You don't need to do this process or this step if you don't want to, but I wanted to really kind of make each feature stand out. So now I am taking my time on each section here to make sure that it is where I want it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and retrace everything with my Sharpie. So if there were things that you couldn't see at this point, you can definitely see them now. I'm going to go ahead and fill in parts of his eyes, leaving a little bit of a highlight. I'm just going to go ahead and draw in his eyebrows with my Sharpie. Get his nose in here nice and wide. I can be a little bit stronger with where my lines go now that I've got these nice pencil guidelines helping me here. Give him a nice solid mouth line. Trace over the smile lines that connect to his nose. And then I'm going to do kind of a lower lip for now. I'm not going to trace over an upper lip. This could also just make it look like his mouth is slightly open, so it's kind of up to you and how you decide to color it. I'm also going to just kind of do a nice outline of his head now that I've got there. With my Sharpie, you can see it kind of cleans up some of those pencil lines. I will go in with like a bigger eraser after tracing all of these lines and erase out a lot of my pencil lines so that when I color, I'm not having to worry about those. You can see I am adjusting some of the shapes as I trace with the Sharpie, so it is kind of nice to have that sketch in first, and then as I am drawing with my Sharpie, make the adjustments as needed to make it look more realistic or more like Shrek. Now I did speed this up while I am coloring so you can see that it's going quite a bit faster, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how I'm going about coloring him. I'm trying to start off with a yellow because I do want his skin tone to be that really warm green, and so giving it kind of a yellow under coloring is good to get that nice warm tone under my green. And then I'm just going to start layering in colors of colored pencils. So you can do this, especially if you have a nicer quality of colored pencil. You can also do this with crayon by just kind of coloring really lightly with each color and building up the layers as you do it. It's something that's really nice that you can add shading to even if you don't have a ton of different colors to use. The set that I'm using right here is from Arteza, so I do have some really nice varieties of colors that I can use, varieties of greens and some golds. So I'll be kind of jumping back and forth between a lot of different colors, but I'm trying to get this kind of olivey green color going on. So I'm using this gold and trying to fill in the lighter sides of his face with this nice golden color. And then I'll be layering some greens and things like that on top to give him some nice shading. Now the darker side, which will be on the left for my illustration, is going to have a little bit more of a darker value. So I'm using kind of this olivey green color. It's like a greenish brown. And then I'm building a little bit more green on top so it doesn't look so brown. And I'm just trying to continue to add layers. I'm not really pressing hard with any of them as I go. I'm just trying to kind of build them up gradually. This does take patience, and it takes a little bit of trial and error to try to find the right color. So please make sure that you're patient with the process if you do want to get a little bit more fancy with your coloring, like I am trying to do here. I'm just kind of building the layers one on top of each other just to give it a little bit more definition in his face. Trying to look at where the darks and the lights hit, and trying to kind of focus on adding a little bit more shading to some of those darker areas to make sure that they look like they're not quite getting as much light. You can see too that as I color, I'm trying to color in some different directions. I don't always go in the same direction, and that's totally fine too. If you're using oil pastels or crayons, you might even be able to kind of blend some of the colors even a little bit better. I'm adding just a little bit of like a warm tone to his lips here. Or again, that could just be his mouth partially open, and you could even just add black in there if you wanted. So yeah, just looking for areas that I can darken to give him a little bit more definition. I also decided to kind of darken the whites of his eyes. They weren't bright white. They looked like they were kind of standing out a lot. Now I'm going to go ahead and give him some detail on his clothing as well. So this little vest that he likes to wear is kind of a brown, and it has little circles all over it. So I'm just going to kind of color it in this neutral brown first, and then I'll add some of the circle details, not going completely into detail down here because I want the main focus to be on his face. Just kind of coloring that in a couple different directions. I also want to add a little bit of shading on his clothing because the clothes are bright white. So after I throw some of these circles on his vest, just to kind of indicate that texture there, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of shading with gray and kind of a creamy color on his shirt. So here's like a peach color that maybe you'd use for like a skin tone or something, but we're going to use it for his clothing. And then it was a little bit too skin tone looking, so I decided to add a little bit of gray to kind of cool it down a little bit and add a little bit of shading in places as well. And there you have my drawing and coloring of Shrek. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please come back for more fun on my channel, Ehlke Art. Thanks so much for watching, and see you again soon.